Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Following up off my video the other day about the Army lieutenant who was sprayed with mace by the cops in Virginia. Right-wing YouTuber Mark Dice decided to go on to his YouTube channel and make a little video talking about not that particular incident, but about the Daunte Wright incident. Now, I'm going to be talking about the Daunte Wright incident next week, okay? But here's the screwed up part. He eventually gets around to the Army lieutenant. Now, when he made his points about Daunte Wright, if you want to go watch his video, be my guest. I didn't like the overwhelming majority of the video. I think even when he was talking about the Daunte Wright situation, he said a lot of things that could be either interpreted as just him being racist or sexist. For example, there was one part where he was talking about the lady, the woman who was responsible for shooting Daunte Wright, and then he followed up by saying that women should not be police. Oh, okay, please explain that one for me. You know, like now we're not even in the realm of the debate on like sports or anything where the woman's genetics are different from the man's. Like now you're trying to take us back to what, the 1940s and 1950s. Women should not be cops. I got news for you. There are some pretty badass women out there. I have no problem with a woman joining law enforcement, but I think anyone who does, and this will be something I'll discuss in the next video when I talk about the Daunte Wright situation, one needs to have that ironclad mentality where they won't panic and choke so easily. And if, in fact, her story is true, I have my doubts. I'll explain that again in that video, but you're not going to panic and pull the wrong sidearm out. You're going to grab the gun instead of the taser. And because you're panicking, you don't even know what the hell you got in your hand and you're pulling triggers, okay? So I don't care if that's a woman or a man, because there's very timid men out there, and I don't think they have any business doing something like that. I also wouldn't encourage them to join the military, okay? But there were a lot of things he said just about the Daunte Wright situation that didn't sit well with me either. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I've watched some of Mark Dice's videos over the years. I haven't always agreed with the things I've heard the man say. There have been points in time where I either agreed with some things I heard him say, or I kind of understood where he was coming from. But this, nah. This has got to be called out. So I'm going to play a little clip from his segment. The video is titled, Black Lives Matter Does It Again. And then he talks about how the media has another, after he covers Daunte Wright, the media's been going on about another topic where an Army lieutenant was pepper sprayed. So let's hear what Mark has to say. I might make pauses in between and kind of react to little bits and things and break them down step by step, but let's get to it.
There's another story that the media is obsessing about this week about police pepper spraying a guy, and they're making it seem like it was excessive force, and he's an Army lieutenant, and he's serving our country, and how dare them. But again, if you actually look into what really happened, he was pulled over because he didn't have any license plates on his vehicle. So,
point number one, Mark. Now, if you don't know Mark Dice, let me go ahead and break this all down for you, okay? And I could take the time and just pull any video. Matter of fact, at the beginning of this very video, he talked about he was going to debunk the fake news. Okay, Mark, you know what you just said? You said that he was pulled over because he did not have a plate on the car. Now, true enough, Mark, that is what the cop put in his report. But Mark, did you do any kind of investigation into this? Because if you had, then you'd have saw in the cop's body cam footage, there was definitely a dealer tag displayed in the back glass of the car. So what that means is it might have been in the cop's own report that he was pulled over for not having a tag, but it was bullshit because he had one. Now, they also talked about tinted windows. So maybe when he was going down the road, because it was dark outside and the window was dark, they didn't see it at first. But it was very clear by the time they got to the well-lit gas station, which he went to. He also wasn't trying to run from the cops, which is something else they put in there. He put his flashers on and drove the speed limit to a well-lit area. Something not that unheard of. Even the guy who gave him all that shit, the Sergeant Gutierrez, said later on in the video, that happens to us all the time. So, Mark, if you really have such a problem with fake news and your 1.66 million subscriber YouTube channel was built, for the most part, on you talking about fake news and the fake news complex and how bad fake news is, I got a question, man. Why are you engaging in fake news right now? Seriously. You're participating in the very shit you like to go on your holier than thou channel and preach about as a problem in our country. You think trading fake news that leans toward the neoliberal side of the aisle, you think getting rid of that to replace it with right-wing fake news is better? I got news for you, Mark. Fake news is bad no matter which way. You know why? Because all it does is spread bullshit and lies. What we need is more truth. And I like how you are pitting yourself as the guy who's spreading the truth, when in actuality, you're repeating the cops' talking points, which were bullshit. Now, Mark, you talked about, just before I played that little clip in your video, also about how there was a segment from Chris Rock about how to not get your ass beat by the cops, and that you thought everyone in middle school, high school, and college should watch this video because it would help you understand how to interact better with cops. Am I going to disagree that society probably needs to learn how to interact with law enforcement better when they get pulled over? And we need to understand that if you want to act a damn fool and you want to try to jump in a car and take off or whatever, if you want to resist arrest, odds are something could happen to you. Something could happen to you. It's best you just bite that bullet and go to jail, because you'll more than likely live to see another day, at least that way. Okay? So I'm not going to disagree with you there that society needs some lessons. But Mark, you got to tell me the cops don't? Seriously. There's a reason that Sergeant Gutierrez is fired right now. It ain't just because of the public pressure. It ain't just because of the Black Lives Matter group or whatever. No. Because it was very clear he fucked up. He fucked up big. That being said, I could keep going, but let's just get back to it, and I'll break this down as we go.
Looked like he was maybe driving a stolen car. So he was not being cooperative, being very combative. They asked him to get out of the vehicle repeatedly. He wouldn't do it. And so then, what a surprise, he got pepper sprayed.
Okay, pause again. Did you watch the video? He was being combative? When did he combat anyone? I'm guessing, Mark, you read the police report again where they said he struck one of the cops. Funny enough, body camera footage doesn't show him striking a cop. Now, Mark, what are we going to believe? What the footage shows or what the document says? Because I could flip this right back around on you, and in any other segment you've done where you've had like this stuff that's leaked out on footage. Okay, we'll go to the election, Mark. We'll go to the election. When all that footage was coming out of things being rolled out from underneath tables and counted when people left the building, which version of the events did you believe then, Mark? Because you know what the people who are in charge of everything said, just like the cop in the situation. He was in charge. He had to write his report, right? So when the people in charge of that little voting office down in Georgia said this was standard procedure, did you buy that? Or did you believe what you found to be suspicious that you could see with your own two eyes on a camera? Rhetorical question, Mark. Anybody that's watched your channel knows which one you believed. You kind of were vocal about it. So, you want to believe the camera then, but you're going to take the cop side of things now when the body camera shows he did have a tag, he didn't strike a cop. The worst thing he did was when the cop tried to grab his hand, he might have been trying to get the cop's hand off of him, and he was telling him, don't touch me, don't touch me. Now, I will agree, he wasn't getting out of the car, and they told him multiple times to get out of the car. But he was also asking what was going on, but we'll get back to that in a minute.
No, maybe he just got the vehicle and he didn't get the plates yet. Well, he could have easily remedied the situation by simply following their simple instructions. Obviously, if they think the vehicle's stolen, they don't know if the perpetrator's going to pull a gun to try to get away. So by having him exit the vehicle, they could see him, see that he wouldn't pull out any weapons. They could have properly ID'd him and then given him a warning for not having his plates yet and sent him on his way. But instead, he had to be a complete jerk and repeatedly refuse their simple, reasonable requests.
Okay, Mark. Let's just go through everything that you said right there. Simple, reasonable requests. How many times have you been traffic stopped? Because a normal traffic stop, Mark, doesn't result in guns being drawn. Furthermore, you're implying that they thought the car was stolen. Okay, but we'll pivot back to the fact he did have a tag. He did have a tag, and they had been given no report that we're aware of that there was a car fitting that description reported as stolen. I would think if that had been the case, we would have heard about that by now because that would kind of help justify what the cops were doing, correct? But that hasn't come out. I wonder why that is. Probably because it wasn't the case. So you can't blame that they think it was stolen because there was no tag on it, because he did have a tag displayed in the back glass. Again, in the dark lit country area where they supposedly put the blue lights on him, might not have seen it right there. But by the time they got to the gas station, it was more than clearly shown in the back glass. I just put the picture up on the screen. Now you talk about how the fake news does such a terrible job, and you're talking about mainstream media news. You know what, Mark? I don't disagree with you a lot there. But at least mainstream media got this one right, because CBS is where I got that picture from. They showed that there was a tag displayed. So in this case, Mark, they're not telling the fake news. You are. And it's either you're intentionally telling the fake news, you're intentionally peddling bullshit, or you don't know and you're talking out your ass. Either way, you're not helping this situation at all. You're condemning this guy as if he's done something wrong. He didn't do a damn thing wrong up to the point that they stopped him. Now, you can say because he wasn't getting out of the car. Okay, fair enough. But I'll ask you this again. That is not standard procedure for someone to get out of a car for a basic traffic stop when there is no real reason that they suspect him of a serious crime. And they said themselves they didn't suspect the car of being stolen. That hasn't come out. That what they said was he had no tag displayed and he had dark tinted windows. Which I want to know how you could tell how dark his tint was going down the road at nighttime anyway. I'm very curious about that. Like if it was daytime when this happened, sure. And if it was daytime, he probably wouldn't have had to ride to a gas station to get some light. How could you tell how dark his tint was at nighttime? Unless there's some kind of tool they can use for something like that. But again, beside the point, Mark, they have not said in their report that it fit the description of a stolen vehicle. So you're making massive assumptions and you're talking out your ass here. Okay? The guy had a tag and he didn't get out of the car, but they immediately approached him, guns drawn, conducting what a lot of people were referring to as a felony stop for no good reason.
You would think that being a member of the military, an army lieutenant, that he would actually be able to follow simple instructions, simple orders, but he couldn't. He didn't. So I think he should actually be court-martialed. Somebody like that really has no business being in the military at all. You know what the one thing missing from old Joe's $2 trillion new infrastructure bill is? More money for jails and prisons.
Okay, put the pause right there. So, you don't think that a guy who stuck his hands out the window didn't want to reach for the seatbelt because he's got two cops drawing guns on him for a reason they haven't exactly clearly explained yet. And one of the reasons for sure they put in the report is complete bullshit, okay? And with everything we've seen going on in the world today, they're telling him to unbuckle a seatbelt and he don't want to reach his hand down because, number one, he's in fatigues, so he's in the military, which means he could have a firearm. And he knows full well, my hand makes one wrong movement. Now, that doesn't mean the cop would have done it, but his body language was certainly suspect. Add to it the fact the cop has already told him, you're about to ride the lightning. Now, for those of you who don't know that term, some people refer to it as like slang for being tased. But if you look at that in a historical context, the term ride the lightning talks about getting the electric chair, aka death. That's what he told this guy. And then when the guy says, I'm afraid to get out, he says, you should be? Mark, you think that's not playing a role? Like, to be fair, he done told him to get out multiple times before he said that, and he didn't get out. But again, why are they taking it to this level? Nothing that went in the report was true to the point that it should have warranted them conducting a felony stop of this man. There was no justification for that. So you think that the lieutenant should be court-martialed. But I ain't heard you say, and I got news for you if you're watching this video out there, he doesn't say this for the rest of the video. He makes not one criticism of that cop. He doesn't want the cop to be fired. He doesn't say anything about the cop that he should be fired. He should receive better training. He should receive, counseling, so what the hell's the word I'm looking for here? Like psychotic counseling or something, mental health, basically, because the guy's clearly got some kind of an issue. He doesn't argue for, anything condemning the cop or his actions. He's basically treating it like the cop did absolutely nothing wrong and it was reasonable demands. And now he's going to go on to a whole little bit here about how we need more prisons and jails and things like that. But I'm going to deflect back. You want that guy to be kicked out of the military for not following simple instructions. Mark, I wonder how many veterans as a whole come home and have ever broken a law or given a cop some attitude. You act like that's unheard of. It's really not. It's really not. There are plenty of veterans who come home and have actually caused more ruckus than this guy and have given a cop a lot more lip. I mean, it's happened. It's happened. That's no justification. And I'm going to be honest with you. The way you're treating this situation, I got to question you on this, Mark. I don't like to make things about the race. I really don't. That's not something I do on this channel. But the way you're reacting to this almost seems like you're just deliberately creating your own reality because it was a black guy. And your whole segment is about how black people basically need to learn to interact better with the cops, right? What are you, man? Are you really showing the true colors? Like, this whole time, mainstream media has been labeling you as a white supremacist. Some people watch this video right now are probably going to already say you are. But, you've been trying to say things like this the whole time, that's just not true. That's not true. That's not true. What are you trying to do? Finally shows your true colors? You've already made sexist comments during this video. You already made some comments with the Daunte Wright situation that some people would probably interpret as racist. Even you yourself tried to troll and they said it was racist. Okay? But are you really not just showing us that you truly are? Why do you think that, why are you trying to create your own set of facts here and present right-wing fake news saying this guy did everything wrong? Like, I will agree with you, when the cop kept telling him to get out of the car, conventional wisdom would say just follow the cop's commands. Just like I said about the whole, like with the Daunte Wright thing. But I'm going to do Daunte Wright next week, okay? But at the same time, the cop should not just be going out there to have a pissing contest and wave a badge and gun around. And if you think that's acceptable behavior by law enforcement, then you're part of the fucking problem here, period. That's not what cops are supposed to be on the streets to do. They're not out there to bully and push around. They're there to protect and serve. And this guy clearly was having no threat on his community at the time. Again, even had a tag displayed in the back glass. And then furthermore than that, again, Mark, I said this in a previous video, they knew they fucked up. They knew they fucked up because at the end of it, they basically tried to coerce him into not pressing charges by saying, if you let this go and chill out and don't argue with us and don't try to sue us, we'll take the cuffs off of you. We'll give you some water. We'll sit with you right here till you're comfortable to drive, and you can go home. But if you argue and try to sue us, we're going to arrest you, we're going to prosecute you, and it's going to affect your military career. So they tried to blackmail this dude by threatening his military career to not prosecute them because they knew they fucked up. Or especially old bloated ass over there, Sergeant Gutierrez. Yeah, he knew he fucked up. And again, I heard you say not one word. Not one word. That's fucked up. That's fucked up, man. Flat out. And I got news for you. If that had been some kind of shoe on the other foot, something's telling me, Mark, that if that had been some Black Lives Matter protester that did something along those lines to some white veteran, or if it were, say, a black cop who supported Black Lives Matter and he did that to a white veteran, you'd have an entirely different reaction right now. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't like to make things about the race, but that's the vibe I'm getting from you right now, man. That you're only trying to demonize this guy this way because of the color issue. Or perhaps there could be one more reason. Let's take a look at what that final reason just might be.
Are working overtime to try to demonize them. So get yourself a Cops Lives Matter shirt from my online store and save 20% off of anything by using the promo code MOREJAILS at the checkout. One word, more jails. Save 20% off of anything for this entire week. So get yourself a Cops Lives Matter shirt, an I Love Global Warming shirt, a Trump 2024 shirt, or any of my awesome designs by heading over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below, enter the promo code MOREJAILS at the checkout, and check them out!
Now is it clear why he might be making up his own set of facts if it isn't just a race thing? Like, it could very well be the race, but you know what they say, money's the root of all evil, right, Mark? And, you know, I've heard you talk about how YouTube isn't your best friend right now. Well, I got news for you. They're not mine either. But you got that pretty large audience still, though, right, Mark? So you've got these nifty little t-shirts out there that you're trying to sell to an audience. And so you need to appease that audience so they buy your shit, right? Well, what was that first? Like, you just went on all this thing to a cop's ass, throwing a veteran under the bus, saying he should be court-martialed and kicked out of the military, basically. That the military doesn't need people like him, but apparently we do need cops like Sergeant Gutierrez out there. And after you just did all this ass kissing, you give us the ad for your Cops Lives Matter shirt. Coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think so. You're part of a fucking problem at this point, Mark. Like, I wouldn't have said that, before. I kind of just... I didn't agree with a lot of shit that you said, but this, and maybe it's I haven't watched enough of your stuff to realize it before now. But you're a problem. We got the neoliberals who are trying to keep this race war shit going. You ain't helping nothing on the right wing side of the aisle, brother. You are part of the damn problem right now. You got people like me who look at both sides and try to take the common sense ideas from both sides and make sense out of it, and then try to build a unity. Get the working class people, the people that the elites and the status quo, left and right, have been screwing over and dumping on for quite a long time. But there's ass clowns out there like you who want to tear all that apart. If not because you genuinely have hate in your heart, then just because it's more profitable to your bank account. Keeps up that standard of living in California, huh? Yeah. This is fucking stomach turning, man. I mean, honestly. Mark, since we're talking about right-wing YouTube, let me recommend you to go see how you should be covering this stuff. Oh, and by the way, their channel is right on up there competing with yours if they haven't actually passed you. I haven't seen what their stats are, but they might be over 2 million by now. And I wonder why that might be. Because they're a little more entertaining than you are, and they're being a little more fair than you are, too. The conservative twins. Now, I know some of my audience might be like, oh, hell, I don't like them either. Look, I'm not here to pass judgment on nobody, right or left. I'm only going to call out bullshit when I see bullshit. Okay? I'll give everybody the fair chance. I'll only pass the judgment when you show me there's bullshit in the mix. Now, I have heard some things the conservative twins have said that I don't agree with. But the point is, when they came to this segment, sure, they kind of made the claim about you should have just got out of the car and whatever. And I see that point to an extent, but as I said in the previous video when I talked about that issue, I also see why some people are like, why in the fuck should we? These cops are harassing us for no damn good reason. If this was a white guy, he wouldn't be getting told to get out of this car the way that they're telling me to get out of it right now. I feel, at the same time, an empathy towards how they're feeling about that kind of injustice. Like, why are you singling me out this way? Especially when the guy is in uniform. But they were at least fair. They criticized the cop. They blatantly basically said that the cop was full of shit. But you basically got down and fondled his balls and sucked his fucking dick for about 10 minutes. That the cop could do no wrong. And the lieutenant is the fucking problem. Even though you only made that a small fraction of your video. Gee, Mark, and you know, I wonder why you didn't make a separate video about that. I wonder why you didn't do what I did and use body cam footage and actually show what took place kind of similar to the way that you did with the other thing or whatever, right? Or at least go more in depth, even if you didn't show footage or whatever. Like, why didn't you do that with this one, Mark? It's very simple. Because you knew the truth was in the footage and it wouldn't fit your narrative, and you're trying to gaslight people with a right-wing bullshit message. So this entire time you've been telling us all about the dangers of fake news. Turns out you've becoming what you've bitched about. You're becoming what you've bitched about, and you're spreading your own version of fake news at this point. Whether knowingly or unknowingly. And if it was unknowingly, then you really need to study this shit better before you just start talking out your ass about it. Because talking out your ass that way makes nothing but the temperature in the room go even higher, causes more problems, more division, and more bullshit for people around. It causes people on your right side of the aisle to not get their eyes awoken to when the cop actually does something fucked up. You're defending even the situations where the cop undoubtedly should be held accountable and should be criticized. And you won't even do that. Like, Mark, I defended the cops a lot last year. I think there's still some situations where mainstream media has made people out to be martyrs because of what cops have done. And I don't agree with the fact that they should have been necessarily viewed as a martyr, that the cop did anything necessarily wrong. I am referring to George Floyd. I've listed my examples in the past. Okay? So I'm an independent. I'm honest. That's why I got this disclaimer up now at the start of the video. This video is going to contain common sense. Viewer discretion is advised because you might be triggered. And I don't give a damn if it's bullshit being pushed by the right or the left. It's time we start calling this shit out. And especially when they have a channel like yours, the size of yours, because when you're able to spread bullshit to that big of an audience, someone's got to push back and give a counter narrative. Even if YouTube censors my shit down and no one sees it, someone needs to do it. So why not start here? So yeah, just terrible stuff, man. It was bad enough to see what happened to the lieutenant, but then to see this guy come out here and just talk all this shit about him, like he was the one in the wrong the entire time. It's just disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Drop your comments in the comment box below. We'll see you next time here on the Lone Wolf Podcast.